You know, are you a priority in your life? Do you prioritize yourself? All right. You know, I asked that question because last night I had a great conversation with Transform with Rich. All right, during my Wellness Wednesday live, and amazing young man. You know, he was 483 pounds, I believe, at some point, and what he said was his entire life all he did was he prioritized other people. He prioritized his wife, he prioritized his kid, he prioritized everything else, his job, all these different things, but he never prioritized himself. And because he came a distant third or fourth in his own life, so did his health. And he realized that the key to him getting himself better was he had to prioritize himself. And mind you, this is a devoted husband and father. But he recognized in order to be a good husband, in order to be a great father, in order to be a role model for his child, he had to first prioritize himself. He had to be the best that he could be. He had to make promises to himself and keep them. How many people betray themselves every single day? You see, one of the ways to show respect for people is you keep your promises to them. You keep your word to them. You know, people say, my word is my bond. Whatever you say you're going to do, you do. That's how you keep respect with people. That's how you show respect and even love for people. All right? Why does that not extend to yourself? Why do you make promises to yourself and break them? The reason why is because you're not a priority. You're not important. And just like he realized, the moment you realize that you are a priority, the moment you make yourself a priority, you will understand that the first thing about yourself to prioritize is going to be your mental and physical health. And I always talk about the mental health first. You know why? Because without a strong, solid mental state, your physical will eventually suffer. A lot of people put the body first. The body's great, don't get me wrong. All right? But that mind has to be sound, because your mind dictates everything you do. The reason why you're in the position that you're in right now is because you don't have a solid mental state. There is a disconnect somewhere in between who you are, who you want to be, and the things that you do. Because if you really want to be someone different, if you really desire to be someone different, you would not do the things you do. And the problem does not lie in the body, it lies in the mind. Fix the mind. Why do you feel you're so unimportant? Why do you believe that everything comes before you? Where does that come from? Fix that. And once you fix that and you realize how important you are, once you fix that and you put yourself in a certain position, you will no longer hurt yourself for someone else. I hear people talk all the time. They say, talking to somebody the other day, it was a painful conversation to even hear, that they're trying to lose weight, they're trying to do better, but their spouse, the person who has promised to be with you for better, their spouse is a deterrent. Always offering them foods that they should not be eating, offering them this, offering them that, not participating in the program. And I have to ask, I said, how would you feel? How would your spouse feel? You got to ask them this. How would you feel if I got a stroke today and I lost, use of the left side of my body? I had a heart attack and I died because you won't help me prioritize my health so that I can be better, so I can be a better person for me and thereby a better person for you. Once you actually prioritize yourself, you will have the conviction enough to ask that question, to pose it in that way. Why do you want me to hurt myself just so you feel better? The friends who, when you're trying to, lose weight, they're always trying to distract you and discourage you. And no, you don't really need to do that. If you've made a decision to prioritize your health, to do something better, to be better in any capacity, anyone that acts as a deterrent has to be asked, why? Why? Once you get the mindset right, you know what else you're going to do? You won't give up. You won't give up on yourself. All right? You will promise yourself and you'll deliver on your promises. You won't settle for less than the best version of yourself. And I don't mean the adjusted best. I mean the best. When you push and every single day I try to change that. I try to get a new version, a new best of myself. Why? Because I'm going to keep pushing myself until I discover the best. Because every time I push myself, surprisingly, I keep getting better. Why? Because I prioritize my mental and physical health. It sounds selfish a little bit, but you know what? It's actually not. Because every time I get better, I can be better for myself. I can be better for my children. I can be better for you guys. Every time I get better mentally, I come back and I'm able to pour more into everyone in my sphere, including you. But that doesn't happen if I don't prioritize myself. If I don't carve out time to take care of my mental health, my spiritual health, and my physical health, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. All right? It does not happen. You have to prioritize yourself to the point where you protect your peace. Well, as a man, I'm going to tell you something in my 50s, one of the most important things to me. In fact, cancel that. The most important thing to me is my peace. And anyone that threatens my peace has to go. Because that peace of mind, right, affects everything. If you don't have peace of mind, you're always stressed and everything like that, it has a detrimental effect on your body. You can't concentrate, you can't sleep, you can't eat. You know, when people disturb my peace, I don't like it. And anything and anyone that has a remote possibility of causing a little bit of distress, you gotta go. You gotta go. That's what prioritizing yourself looks like. This right here is my peace. This is my calm. You rock my boat, you get off the boat. Period. All right? You have to prioritize yourself to the point where you understand that your good mood is important. That's why I smile all the time. Why? Because I'm in a legitimately good mood. Why? Because I've prioritized myself. I'm at peace. I have not settled for a lesser version of myself. I have refused to give up. So a certain level of confidence has grown in me. A certain level of self-respect has grown in me. A certain level of pride has grown in me. All right? I have always chosen to be a better version of myself. And because of that, I can smile. Doesn't mean that everything's perfect. It means that despite everything that's going on, I am still pushing through. And that'll make me smile. That'll make me smile every single day. I got life. I got a chance. I got peace. All right? None of these things happen if I do not prioritize myself. And last but not least, right? I made a promise to myself that I would live the life that I want to live. I would stop living my life by other people's standards, by other people's judgments, by other people's desires and whims. I prioritize myself. And then what you do is you find people around you who their mission is in line with your mission. And maybe some people might join your mission, but as long as they understand what your mission is. Okay? Live the life of your dreams. You cannot dedicate your life to something that is foreign to what you truly want and expect to be happy, expect to be mentally happy, expect to be physically happy, expect to be content. You can't do it. have to prioritize that life. How important is it to you? How important are you to you? Oh, my kids come first. Sorry, they don't. You come first. Because without you being mentally sound and physically sound, you'll wind up hurting your kids. You'll wind up showing them some broken version of a person that they'll then emulate and go and repeat. We see it all the time. You know, Rich talked about that last night. The bad habits he had that when he was 32 years old almost cost him his life were inherited. It wasn't inherited out of malice, but it was inherited out of somebody not understanding that their health themselves was a priority. So they had toxic bad habits that they then in turn passed to him. And had he not had that rude awakening, he may have passed it to his child. He may have passed it to his wife. He may have passed it to everyone in his circle. We always have an impact in this world. Everywhere we go, we touch people. What is your touch? What is your impact? How are you growing the people in the spaces around you? What dictates that? The level of importance you give to yourself, the priority, how you prioritize yourself, how you prioritize your mental health, your physical health, how you prioritize your growth, how you prioritize your acquisition of knowledge. Like I talked to you guys the other day, I said the 3 things that are going to determine where you're going to be in 5 years: your health, the knowledge you acquire, and the people you associate with. And the thing that should steer that, once again, is going to be what? Do you prioritize yourself? Are you important? Because if you are important, then guess what? You'll guard your health. If you are important, you realize that, you know what? I need more knowledge. I need to grow myself, right? You'll feed yourself. You'll feed your spirituality. You'll feed your intellect. You feed your social skills, your ability to be compassionate. And then you'll look at the people that you hang around and you'll say, hey, do these people build me or break me? Sometimes the people we hang around, they're energy drains, call them energy vampires. You stop allowing yourself to be sucked dry by the suckers, the blood suckers, the energy vampires, the people who are not on the same mission as you. And sometimes, you know what? They're not even that bad. Sometimes they're really nice people, but you guys have different goals. You gotta let them run their race. You gotta let them run their race. Okay? They may be nice people. They may be great people. But they're not running the same race as you. That means you can't run together. All right? We cannot run together. When are you going to start prioritizing yourself? I ran down a list of things right now. Is that things that you do? If not, why not? A lot of times people break promises to themselves. They ever ask yourself, why do I keep doing this to me? I don't break promises to anyone else. But it's so easy for me to break a promise to myself. Why? Because you're not a priority. You don't respect yourself. You don't love yourself. And when I say you don't love yourself, a lot of people get upset. It's a fact. People you love and respect, you keep promises to. Period. People you love and respect, you keep promises to. If you make a promise to yourself, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to do better, and you don't do it. Well, you know, I had to go to work, you know, the job. So you respect the job and you love the job more than you love yourself. Very simple. Wasn't a priority. I'll give you a perfect example, right? And I always use this example, right? All right, so a lot of people don't have the time to do this, don't have the time to do that, they don't like to do this, they don't like to do that, until they get a cancer diagnosis. And all of a sudden, they got all the time to take all the food. They're Googling, foods. What treatment can I take to get rid of cancer? Every single chemo appointment, they there 30 minutes early. They want to know everything they can know about cancer at that point in time. You know why? It's a priority now. They manufacture more time. You have to make time. And you have to create a space in your life for yourself. And the best place to be is first. You can't continue to pour out of an empty cup. You can't continue to farm a barren field. You have to plant. You have to nurture. You have to harvest. And then you can give. If you're not doing that, you're handing me a bunch of leftovers. And that's what we get with a lot of people, a bunch of leftovers. You see them 1 year, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, they're still doing the same thing, talking about the same thing. You know why? Because they haven't prioritized themselves. They haven't grown mentally. They haven't invested in themselves. You see people, their bodies are deteriorating, breaking down right in front of you. And you say, what are you doing? Nothing, man. Just living life, man. Are you? Is that what living life looks like? And here's the thing, a lot of times I hear this statement all the time, well, something's going to kill you. And people really believe that they can, run this race and not take care of themselves. Mentally and especially physically. But I always talk about the mental part, because like I said, if you're mentally there, you don't do certain things to your body physically. I'm just sorry, you just don't. So you got to be mentally off to continue to poison yourself. Something's got to be wrong. Fix whatever is wrong before you kill yourself. All right? But, our society teaches us to be this way. All right? Everything and everyone in your life is trying to vie for a priority position in your life. It takes strength to be able to say, no, I'm not doing that. That's, and sometimes it takes a lot of strength to be able to say no to yourself. Is that what we really want to be doing? Then no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So ask yourself, once again, are you a priority? Are you? And then even when it comes down to your children, you have to look at yourself and say, what am I teaching my children about life? Am I teaching them to make themselves a priority? Or am I teaching them to repeat the cycle? The self-destructive cycle. The cycle of disrespect of oneself, one's body, one's mind. These are things we have to think about. All right? Far too many of us are dying early. And you know what's worse? Once again, than dying after you've neglected yourself? Living with the consequences. That's painful. That's painful. Living with the consequences. Because you know what? When you have neglected your health, guess what? You'd be freaking lucky to just die in your sleep one day. But what usually happens to people, especially with medicine right now, especially with our quote-unquote healthcare system, you spend from your mid-40s or early 50s until you're 70-something, popping 6, 7, 8, as many as 15 different prescriptions, waking up in pain, inflammation, loss of function. A lot of guys walking around right now, all the money in the world, they can't even satisfy their wife. Loss of, pride. They mask it. They mask it with drinking, smoking cigars, looking like they're living the life, when in actuality they're not. Same thing with women too. Overweight, in pain, low self-esteem. And what do they mask it with? Makeup, hair, all those things like that don't really matter. As a matter of fact, it's an indication that you don't really feel that good, that you can't walk out by yourself as yourself. Why? Because you didn't prioritize yourself. You make all kinds of excuses in the world. Oh, I'm happy at this size. There's no way you can be. If you were 25, 28, 29 years old, weighing 140 pounds, and now you weigh 200, and you want to convince me that you're happy, you can't be. You're carrying 60 pounds. That's painful. It wears on you. One of the best things you can do is be honest with yourself. Admit it, then you can change it. It's not like it can't be changed. It can be changed. But being in denial doesn't help you. Prioritizing, covering it up. Prioritizing, having an attitude about it anytime somebody tells you about it. Deflecting doesn't do anything to help you. It only hurts you. Being macho about it. I'm good. No, you're not. No, you're not. And there's something to be said about the mental state of the person who wants to argue that. Who wants to do that? Who wants to be less than what they can actually be? Who wants to not be in the best possible condition mentally and physically? Look at the possibilities you open up for yourself. Once again, health, knowledge, associations. Because of the health choices I made, because of the knowledge choices I made, and because of the associations that I made and discontinued, I'm allowed to be where I am today. If I continue to make wise choices in those departments, I will continue to reap the benefits. And yes, I know some of the times these things can be a little offensive. But sadly, not enough people are upsetting people's sensitivities. Everybody's catering to people's sensitivities. Well, you really can't say that to people. Yes, you should. Yes, you should. There has to be a standard for yourself. Raise your standards. If it's bullshit, we got to call it what it is. We cannot now be in society and just allow bullshit to fly. We can't do that. That's how we get where we are now. Okay? That's how we look at 75% of the nation overweight and have the audacity to look at people who are not overweight and say they're the ones that got a problem. We are regular people. The sick, the overweight, the underachievers have now become the regular. If that's what regular means, I don't want to be regular. I think that's the last thing you want to do is be regular, especially in a country like this right now. You don't want to do that. And how do you do that? How do you prevent that? Prioritize yourself. Call yourself to task. Call yourself to task. Is this who I really want to be? Who do I really want to be? Why haven't I done that? How can I start doing that? Little steps. Once again, you're not going to go from 0 to 100, but you make little changes. And you make those little changes and you stay consistent with it. It adds up. 1% better every day is 365% better in a year. Imagine where you would be if you were 365% better by next year this time. And Cindy, yeah, you're right. Some people just don't know better, and that's true. So you cannot fault people for what they do not know, because our society is hell-bent on misinforming you, misguiding you, making you feel that certain things are okay. And that's why it's so important that we have people that are speaking up and saying, no, that's not okay. Here's the reason why. Here's the proof that it's not okay. Now, the question is, they say knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is not power, guys. Knowledge has never been power. Applied knowledge is power. Applied knowledge. I can tell you everything you want. You can hear it. You can understand it. You can believe it. But if you don't apply it, you're no longer knowledgeable. As a matter of fact, at that point now, that's what makes you stupid. Willful ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Are you a priority? You know, I looked at I've been talking to people, and you hear excuse after excuse, excuse after excuse, and I shouldn't say excuses, because some of them are good reasons, you know, because people struggle with that, especially somebody who's struggling with a spouse that just isn't helping them, you know, somebody struggling with bad programming from the time they were kids. And you know what? I understand. It's not your fault that you're in the position that you are, but it's still your responsibility. It is still your responsibility to change it. Yes, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you grew up where you grew up. It's not your fault that you have the parents that you have. It's not your fault that your spouse isn't being supportive. But it's still your responsibility. Because the person that you're hurting the most is you. And then when you're done hurting yourself, it hurts everyone around you. Your spouse, your children, your family, your friends, your community, all the skills and the talents that you could bring to bear. You can't. Why? Because you have not prioritized yourself enough to be the best version of you to be able to pour back into the world. That is our responsibility. I always say that, you know, God's greatest gift to us is our unlimited potential. Our greatest gift back is to use that potential to its fullest. You can't do that if you have not prioritized your health, mental and physical. You cannot do that if you have not invested in you. You cannot do that if you have not developed yourself. When are we going to start? I think today is a good day. Ask yourself, what are the things I can do? Just little things. Don't try to go too large, because sometimes people go too large and wind up disappointing themselves. My mother used to say, you always want to hang your hat where your hand can reach. Don't hang your hat where your hand can't reach. My mother's hilarious. Don't hang your hat where your hand can't reach. People in the South say, start out like you can hold out. But when you start out small, it is still incumbent on you to every single day increase that capacity. All right? Every single day. Everybody's not born a hero, but you can make yourself a hero. No one's born great. You develop greatness, and everybody has it in them. We have the capacity. You're great at certain things. Unfortunately, some people are great at the wrong things. But we can change that.